female child slipped from his hands as he was trying to smash her on the rock. And she slipped out of his hands, flew into the sky, took the form of Durga, and laughed. "Oh, Kamsa, you're such a fool. The 8th child of Devaki has already been born and will kill you." Something like that. And she disappeared. The demon got the shakes. He started to worry. What's going to happen? What's going to happen? Narada Muni paid him a visit. You know the pastime? You know the pastime? Either of you know the Narada Muni, the pastime of Narada Muni visiting the demon Kamsa? Narada Muni paid him a visit right in the palace. And he honored him. He received him nicely. And Narada Muni said, "Don't worry. You want to harm Vasudeva because he didn't give you the 8th child, but you don't have to worry about him. You have to worry about the 8th child. So don't harm Vasudeva. Find that 8th child and kill the 8th child." And he liked that wisdom. Find the 8th child and kill him. So he's on this mission. So he sent the first of the demons, or demoness. What was her name? The first demon that Krishna killed? Yeah. Putana. Is that right? You sure? Okay, Putana. Okay, so Putana had each of these, the sister and the 2 brothers, they had mystic powers. One of the mystic powers is they could fly without an airplane. They could fly in the sky. Another mystic power is they could change shapes. So she, who knows what she looked like, but she made herself look like the goddess of fortune. Beauty, opulence, astounding, so that she could do her nefarious activity. And Krishna accepted some service from her. This is important. I mean, you know what happened. She was killed, but she achieved the position of a nurse in the spiritual sky, assisting Mother Yasoda in Goloka, in the spiritual sky, because she did some service. And when news came to Kamsa that she had been killed, he sent other demons and other demons and other demons. And we're going to hear about 2 of them in this session, but one of them is Baka. Baka was the older brother of Putana, Baka. So the demon that got killed just before was the Vatsasura. What does Vatsa mean? Any of our adults? Vatsa? Calf. Calf. So he assumed the form of a calf, but he was an asura, so Vatsasura. And he moved around with the other calves, because Krishna is very little. He's like just before around 4 years of age. Around 4 years of age. That's pretty small. So he wasn't taking care of cows yet. He's taking care of the calves. So the calf demon took the shape of a calf, shape-changing, mystic power, and he was looking for the opportunity to attack Krishna. But Krishna was omniscient, and he saw the calf demon disguised as a calf, and so he grabbed the calf demon by his hind legs, started twirling him around. By centrifugal force, he lost his life and threw him in the top of a tree. And that was the end of Vatsasura. So every day the cowherd boys would go in the forest taking care of the calves. One day, all the boys, including Krishna and Balaram, each boy taking his own group of calves, brought the calves to a reservoir of water, desiring to allow them to drink. After the animals drank water, the boys drank water also. Right by the reservoir, the boys saw a gigantic body resembling a mountain peak, broken and struck down by a thunderbolt. They were afraid even to see such a huge being. Look at that guy. Giant. Look at how small the boys are and how big this other creature is. That great-bodied demon was named Bakasura. He had assumed the body of a duck with a very sharp beak. So he was like, he was the brother of Putana. So he had mystic powers, shape-changing powers, and he assumed the form of all things of a duck. The demon was famous as Baka, Jiva Goswami's commentary. It was huge in body and in cruelty, with the form of a crane or Baka. Having come there, he immediately swallowed Krishna. So this is kind of a role reversal. The cowherd boys are used to having a difficulty, and when there's a difficulty, they call to Krishna to help. But sometimes Krishna did a role reversal. Krishna's in the beak of this giant, humongous creature, Bakasura. There's a nice painting. So what are the cowherd boys going to do? Though this was so, and though he had a very sharp beak, which was very strong to do his evil work, he could just get Krishna in his mouth, but he could do nothing more than that. He couldn't swallow him. This the JG means, that's Jiva Goswami's commentary. This was the will of Krishna, whose name means he was famous as the great ocean of variegated, inconceivable pastimes. There's a BBT painting. But there was a period of time when Prabhupada first published Krishna book. Some time passed, and then the European BBT, they wanted new paintings for Krishna book. So this is one of their new paintings, Eastern Europe, Northern and Eastern Europe, Krishna and Bakasura. He's a big guy. When Balaram and the other boys saw that Krishna had been devoured by the gigantic duck, they became almost unconscious, like senses without life. Though Balaram, this is Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur, Balaram could have killed the asura. His response of fainting is because of his brotherly affection. Now a little bit about Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur. Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur was chronologically after the 6 Goswamis and a couple of generations later. Amongst them, amongst the commentators, he is particularly, I call him a Rasika Bhakta. He's particularly keen on the loving exchange between Krishna and everybody. So he sees and then he writes facts, but most importantly, rasa. So what was Krishna feeling? What was Balaram feeling? What was everyone feeling? Why did they behave that way? Because their loving attachment for Krishna. And he's omniscient, he's all powerful, he's Balaram. He could have taken his club and just clobbered this duck and finished. But part of the rasa, or part of the loving exchange with all of the associates, guess what? We're going to ask you to come move forward. Those of you ladies that are seated there, there's some people coming in. And those that are in front of you, could you all come forward a little bit? Not too much, but enough so the people that are out there in the hall, they can see the screen. That much at least. Please get up and move. Please get up and move. That favorite couch seat needs to be let go. So our nice people that are coming in can see. And those of you that did move, thank you very much. It's a nice big space here. So, rasa. When Krishna appears, there's pastimes. Here's a little lesson. There's the pastimes, like basically the storyline. And then there's tattva, there's truths about Krishna's position. He's the para tattva, supreme truth, and all truths are subordinate to him. There's lessons of dharma in many cases, not so much in these childhood pastimes, but with proper conduct. And then rasa. So Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur, if you see these three initials, VCT, check it out. He's speaking about the loving exchange between Krishna and his devotees. S.G. means Sanatana Goswami. Though Balaram had the power to immediately kill evil Baka, Balaram and other boys suddenly became devoid of prowess, of knowledge and action, Jnana Shakti and Kriya Shakti, because they were overpowered by intense affection for Krishna, prema, priti. They were like senses without prana. So he's saying something very similar to what Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur said. Krishna, who was the father of Lord Brahma, but was acting as the son of a cowherd man, became like fire, burning the root of the demon's throat. And the demon Bakasura immediately disgorged him, means he spit him out. When the demon saw that Krishna, although having been swallowed, was unharmed, he immediately attacked him again with a sharp beak. Krishna is going to play a little bit. When Krishna, the leader of the Vaishnavas, saw that the demon Bakasura, the friend of Kamsa, was endeavoring to attack him with his arms, he captured the demon by the two halves of his beak, and it's a big beak. Krishna squeezed the demon, this is Jiva Goswami, who was friend of Kamsa, and thus most powerful and most wicked, in his grasp. And he's going to bifurcate him. Since Krishna was the goal of the devotees, Satam Gati, killing the demon was appropriate. The phrase, friend of Kamsa, also suggests that by bifurcating the demon, it was as if Kamsa was bifurcated also. In the presence of all the cowherd boys, Krishna very easily bifurcated him as a child splits a blade of Virana grass. Virana grass? What's Virana grass? Common blade of grass of some kind. By this killing the demon, Krishna very much pleased the denizens of heaven. So the this is a nice point that comes up several times in his childhood pastimes. Somehow or another, the cowherd boys have the privilege of playing with Krishna, and the demigods have the privilege of viewing the pastimes of the cowherd boys playing with Krishna. They can't participate. They don't have the adhikar. They don't have their eligibility. They have the eligibility to fly around in their various carriers and from the skies above see, and then they applaud and make nice sounds saying, well done, well done. But they can't participate. So the fortune of the cowherd boys is very special. The demigods are very special. They can see Krishna and see his pastimes. We can't. They can. That's very special. It's not just like a cartoon or a animated video or something. They're seeing his pastimes. But the cowherd boys are participating with Krishna in his pastimes. The celestial denizens of the higher planetary system showered Malika Pushpa, flowers grown in Nandana Kanana. Nandana Kanana is a garden by the palace of Indra, and it has very fragrant flowers that grow in that garden. And they were able to take the flowers from the garden and shower Krishna with their flowers and sing his praises. They also congratulated him by sounding celestial kettle drums and conch shells and by offering prayers. Seeing this, the cowherd boys were struck with wonder, because the cowherd boys don't see Krishna as anything other than their friend. I mean, he's an interesting friend. He's a powerful friend. Then this is an important, this pastime of Krishna killing Baka and how it happened and how the boys responded is important with the next, chapter 12, the dealing of Aghasura. You'll see when we get there, if you're with us tomorrow. So who is this boy? They didn't start speculating maybe he's God or something like that. They just, who is he? They're little boys. Just as the senses are pacified when consciousness and life return, so when Krishna was freed from this danger, all the boys, including Balaram, thought that their life had been restored. They didn't know how. They didn't know what. They were just, they're experiencing ecstasies. This is one of the nice things about Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu. Rupa Goswami's teaching on Bhakti Rasa. Similar, as I mentioned, with Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur. So also, extremely so, Rupa Goswami. That is, let's go back a little bit. The position of Srimad Bhagavatam in relation to Vaishnavism. In relation to Vaishnavism, Ramanujacharya made very little commentary on the Puranas. To some degree Vishnu Purana, to a major degree Ramayana, Itihasa, but not so much attention to the Puranas. A lot of attention to Vedanta Sutra and to Bhagavad Gita and teachings, but not so much the pastimes. He didn't poo-poo them, but he just didn't give them much attention. And the other acharyas similarly. Until the time of Lord Chaitanya, it was largely the Upanishads, the Shrutis, and Vedanta Sutra, and not so much the Puranas. The first person amongst the four Sampradayas the first person to give much attention to Srimad Bhagavatam was Madhvacharya. He made a commentary on Srimad Bhagavatam. Not extensive, but he was being considered by such an important acharya as Madhvacharya as a key for understanding the Supreme. And then in a couple generations going down the line, Madhavendra Puri established a very key feature in the line of Lord Chaitanya, predecessor acharya, of the mood of love in separation. Now that's there certainly to some degree, to a major degree, in Ramayana, but it became a very special mood by Madhavendra Puri, especially the mood of the love of the resident of Vrindavan in separation from Krishna. So this is separation because he was in the mouth of this demon. He was in the mouth of the demon. And they were feeling, he, Krishna, was the love of their life. He was at the center of their life. And he's at the mouth of this demon. It looked like he was finished because this demon is huge and powerful. Astonishment. And it's a secondary rasa. So back to the importance of Srimad Bhagavatam. It's illuminating the fact that all Vaishnavas gave teachings on, that the absolute truth is a person, but then the person has feelings and has love and has pastimes, and the supreme person is Krishna, and that's what Srimad Bhagavatam is. And therefore, from the time of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and his followers, emphasis on rasa and emphasis on Srimad Bhagavatam as the revealer of rasa, and so much teaching on the topic. So this is now Rupa Goswami, Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu, giving emphasis on bhakti rasa. And different. So primary, this is Rupa Goswami. 5 primary, 7 secondary rasas. You all know this one. You know the 5 primary rasas? Here they are. Starting with this one. Neutrality, servitorship, friendship, parental affection, and conjugal love. That makes 5. So we'll do them again. Neutrality, servitorship, dasya, friendship, like Arjuna, sakya, parental affection, mother, father, Vasudeva and Devaki, and conjugal love, Krishna's queens, Krishna and the gopis, conjugal love. 5 primary. And in the science of rasa, there's 7 secondary, and then mixtures of some secondary ones with primary ones, and some other secondary ones mixing together, called mixed rasas. Mixture of rasas. It's a whole section of Rupa Goswami's teaching, and he just focuses on rasa, because you're going to understand Krishna, you have to understand rasa, because he's rasaraj. Or from the Upanishads, raso vai saha. Saha is a pronoun. It, or that. And the supreme, or that, is rasa. Rasa vai, certainly, is rasa. So if you want to understand the absolute truth, saha, you have to understand rasa, because that's what he is. And he engages in the exchanges of love. So part of this exchange of love was to enact a pastime such that even Balaram, who is his first expansion, astonishment, extreme astonishment, so much astonished that he fainted. And then he made it nice, so he became normal again. Then it was just the primary rasa. So the primary rasa takes the back seat, and the secondary rasa takes prominence sometimes. And it's compared to the movements of a river. A river is water, and it's just flowing. But as the water is flowing, sometimes it's up, and sometimes it's down, and sometimes it's stormy, sometimes it's very turbulent, and sometimes it's very calm. And if it's the same water. So as water keeps moving very fluidly, so rasa keeps moving very fluidly. And Krishna is himself experiencing and giving others the opportunity to experience. Exchanges of love. That's what rasa is. It's the definition the definition that Prabhupada has given of rasa is taste. So each thing has its taste. Sugar is sweet, and something is pungent, and something is salty, and something is. So everything has its taste. You have a few crystals. They may look the same, but you taste it, you know what it is. That's salt. That one's sugar, because of the taste. Oh, they from the eye's inspection, they may look the same. So what Krishna is doing is he's churning the transcendental emotion, transcendental meaning, centered on him, emotion centered on him, so his devotees can experience rasa. And Krishna enjoys stimulating their ecstatic moods. And that's his pastimes, or a major part of his pastimes. He's accomplishing other things like killing of a demon. But when he kills the demon, they get liberation. Stay tuned, we're going to hear something very interesting about Aghasura and what happened to Aghasura after he was killed. They embraced Krishna in good consciousness, and then they collected their own calves and returned to Brajabhumi, where they declared the incident loudly. Hey, guess what happened today? And they told what happened today. And here's the nice painting. On the top is Vatsasura, and at the bottom is Bakasura. Getting back Krishna, who was their life, the boys, like enlivened senses, embraced him. And gathering together the calves, returned to their homes. In voices, loud voices, they proclaimed the killing of Vatsasura and Bakasura. When the cowherd men and women heard about the killing of Bakasura in the forest, they were very much astonished. So the cowherd boys were directly involved, and everybody back in the village of Vrindavan, they were astonished also just to hear. Because when they look at Krishna, they're just like this beautiful Prakshit painting. There's Krishna. All the rasas are pictured in this. The primary rasas are pictured. There's neutrality, and there's the servitorship, there's parental affection, there's conjugal love. Upon hearing the story, they received Krishna very eagerly, thinking that Krishna and the other boys had returned from the mouth of death. They weren't thinking Krishna special, they're thinking somehow or another, providential arrangement protected our son. So naturally they did some rituals, had him bathe in cow urine, and had brahmanas chant mantras so the delicate body of Krishna could be protected. They looked upon Krishna and the boys with silent eyes, not wanting to turn their eyes aside now that the boys were safe, as if they had come back from dead. Hearing about this, the cowherd men and women were surprised and immersed in great affection. They gazed at him with attachment. Sanatana Goswami writes, This means that they became blissful on seeing him for a long time, because their eyes were never satisfied fully. Now they live with Krishna. He's at the center of their lives. Whatever the age, the elder ladies, the elder men, the younger boys, the younger girls, the cows, the calves, the this and the that's, the trees, the rivers, everything, they're all feeling ecstasy in relation to Krishna. Now here's an interesting story. Who was Bakasura before he was Bakasura? In his previous life, Bakasura was a demon named Utkala, who was Hayagriva's son. One day, the demon came near Jadali Muni's leaf hut at a place where the Ganges meets the ocean. Casting a fish hook into the water, the demon caught a fish. Although forbidden again and again, the wicked-hearted demon gave no respect to the sage. The perfect sage, Jajali, cursed him. "Oh, demon, you eat fish like a duck, then become a duck." Within a moment became a duck. Utkala said, "Oh, sage, save me. I did not know the power of your austerities. The wise know that association with great saints like yourself is a great door of liberation. Saints like yourself see friends and enemies equally. They see that honor and dishonor, gold and a clod of earth, and happiness and unhappiness are all the same." Jajali said, in the Vaivasvata Manvantar, in the 28th Yuga cycle, at the end of Dwapara Yuga, in Bharatvarsha, in Mathura, in the circle of Vraja, Sri Krishna, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, will herd many calves in the Vrindavan forest. Even by hating him, many demons, such as Hiranyaksha, have already attained the Supreme. You will also enter into the spiritual world. It was a benediction. Now this is, some of you know this already, Bhaktivinoda Thakur wrote 100 books. Try writing a book sometime. Try writing a Vyasa Puja offering sometime. Takes a while, right? 100 books. He was prolific. And 2 of those 100 books, Krishna Samhita and Chaitanya Shikshamrita, in those 2 books of his 100 books, he has a section on Krishna's pastimes in Vrindavan and explains when Krishna killed demons in Vrindavan, Krishna was demonstrating his willingness to help those who are in this sadhana stage of bhakti to have obstacles in their sadhana removed. And, some details. So here's his writing. Bakasura represents cunning and duplicity, deceptive behaviors and hypocrisy, and outward manifestations, singular, of a virtuous lifestyle, while inwardly infested with deception, falsity, and cheating activities. So Krishna helps the sadhaka by dealing with those misdeeds or mistaken tendencies. So this is a very old painting depicting this pastime. After hearing of all the events, the coward men, headed by Nanda Maharaj, began to contemplate. It's very astonishing that although this boy Krishna has many times faced many varied causes of death. By the grace of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, it was these causes of fear that were killed instead of him. They're contemplating, who is this boy? So he's blessed by the personality of Godhead. Although the causes of death, the Daityas, were very fierce, they could not kill this boy. Rather, because they came to kill this innocent boys, as soon as they approached them, they themselves were killed. Exactly like flies attacking a fire. The words of persons full of knowledge of Brahman never become untrue. It is very wonderful that whatever Gargamuni predicted, we are now actually experiencing in all detail. So he's referring to what the painting is showing, the name-giving ceremony. You know the circumstance, the name-giving ceremony? This is, you see in the background, no, it doesn't depict it so well. There's a cow over Gargamuni's shoulder. It was done in a cowshed. And it was purposefully done in that way because Vasudeva had taken, Nanda had taken Krishna and Balaram. He knew, anyway, he had taken Krishna and Balaram to pay his taxes. And when he went to pay his taxes, he made an arrangement that Gargamuni could perform the name-giving ceremony for these two boys, Krishna and Balaram. The Balaram was the son of Rohini. And Krishna was the son of Yashoda. So Rohini was one of the many wives of Vasudeva. So Rohini was sent, when Kamsa started doing his wicked things, he sent Rohini to be with Nanda, his dear friend, for her safety. So Balaram became her son. So the two boys, when he went to pay his taxes in Mathura, he decided he would have the priest of the royal family perform the name-giving ceremony. But Gargamuni said, if we do this in a public place, he'll put two and two together and Krishna's in trouble. So let's go to a place he won't suspect. Let's go to a cowshed. Nice place for Krishna to be in a cowshed. So that's in the background. And when the name-giving ceremony was... When the name-giving ceremony was performed, he made all these declarations about what would Krishna... Do you guys know what that is all about?
What did the cow say to the chicken? You seem a little under the feather. You should go recoup.
Can you unplug it or something? Do you live here?
Oh, no.
You live here? Do you know how to turn this thing off?
It's off
now.
Okay. Come on, you know technology. I don't. Oldsters don't understand technology. You guys do. But anyway, it's taken care of. He's a little bit older. Not too much older. Okay. So he made some pronouncements about what Krishna's future would be. He gave his name and Balaram's name and what their future would be. And that's what astrologers do. It's one of the things that astrologers do. And he's not just an astrologer, he's a Brahmana, very gifted, Gargamuni. So he predicted that he would be put in difficulties, but he would always be rescued. He didn't Gargamuni understood he was the personality of Godhead, but he didn't tell that to Nanda Maharaj. He didn't want to hear that. Although the causes of death... Oh, here we go. I went back the wrong way. In this way, all the cowherd men, headed by Nanda, enjoyed the topics about the pastimes of Krishna and Balaram with great transcendental pleasure, and they could not even perceive material tribulations. They were so much in transcendental emotion or transcendental happiness that there was this difficulty, that difficulty. Everyone that has a body has some kind of pain or pleasure, difficulty, something. But they were situated in another plane just by the presence of Krishna, the hearing of his activities. Here is an instruction about the results of studying or discussing the Krishna Leelas. This is Prabhupada's commentary from 112 Bhagavatam. Sadhya hridi avirudyatetra kritibi shushushabhi tatshanat. One will feel the transcendental happiness. Nanda and Yashoda in Vrindavan appeared like ordinary persons. This is again Prabhupada, of this material world, but they never felt the tribulations of this world. And although they sometimes met many dangerous situations created by the demons. In this way, Krishna and Balaram passed their childhood age in Brajabhumi by engaging in activities of childish play, such as this coming tomorrow, playing hide and seek, constructing a make-believe bridge on the ocean, jumping here and there like monkeys. So they were imitating Ramachandra's pastime because it's a previous age. So they heard and they were imitating, as children will do. And especially Krishna's birthday. So that's each year a big event in Vrindavan. And of course, a big event in ISKCON is observing Krishna Janmashtami. So that's a little review. It's not even the full part of chapter 11. But as I was coming here, I was contemplating where to begin. Because Krishna's pastimes are vast. But I thought the the Agasura pastime is very nice. And it leads to another very nice pastime, Brahma Vimohan Leela. And then that leads to another very nice pastime. For 1 year, Krishna assumed the role of calves and cowherd boys so that the cows could have Krishna as their calf. So Krishna became their calf. And Krishna became the cowherd boy of each of the cowherd boys. It's a really nice pastime. I'm going to build up to it. So we're starting with chapter 11. I hope you like sequential stories because it's nice. You can appreciate it at any stage. Here's a little Prabhupada said. There was a period of time in our Hare Krishna movement when the Srimad Bhagavatam was coming out volume by volume. And the system was, at least one particular time, it was third canto part 3, and then third canto part 4, and fourth canto part 1, and we got these shipments of books, and we're going out distributing these books to people, and they're looking at third canto part 3 and saying, "Where's part 2 and part 1? And what about the other cantos?" They would ask sometimes. Sometimes they wouldn't ask, but when they asked Prabhupada, what should we say when they ask this? Prabhupada said, you can tell them it's like ice cream. When you lick on an ice cream from any side, it's very sweet. And it worked. Oh, okay. Because the devotees were very enthusiastic and the subject matter was attractive. Tons of books were distributed that way. And now, there's the whole Srimad Bhagavatam set. And people may be intimidated, but you might be surprised how many people like Srimad Bhagavatam and will buy a whole set. And it's not just Indian congregation people. Indian congregation people like Srimad Bhagavatam. If you're going to be part of the Hare Krishna movement, you got to have a Srimad Bhagavatam in your home. And so many people have, and some people don't yet have, but they'll get. But there's all kinds of people from all different backgrounds that are eagerly receiving Srimad Bhagavatam in their home. And they read it. And their life changes. And it doesn't matter, what they believe, it doesn't matters, because it's all pure. It's all fully transcendental. I'm gonna say one little thing, and then we'll end and see if there's discussion. The Srimad Bhagavatam, there's this nice teaching of how Srimad Bhagavatam is Srimad Bhagavatam. The Bhagavatam, just like Bhagavan, and then there's Bhagavata. There's Bhagavata in relation to Bhagavan. And then the Bhagavatam is the stories of, the narrations of Bhagavan. Bhagavatam. So the various incarnations are in there. And the source of all the incarnations is also highlighted, very much so. And that's Bhagavatam. But it's Sri Mat, the two parts. Our acharyas have explained the etymology of Srimat or Shrimad, more precisely in Sanskrit grammar. Srimad is Srimat, but in the particular usage it's Srimad. It's the intrinsic, inseparable from Krishna is Srimati Radharani. And invested, this is Jiva Goswami in his Sandarbhas, in Jiva Goswami's explanation, because the Bhagavatam is spoken by Krishna, or is from Krishna. It's not just about Krishna, it's from Krishna. It's both. And because it's from Krishna, there's a potency of Shri, or opulence, the opulence of transcendence invested within the topic of Bhagavatam, and therefore Shri Mat, possessing the quality of the opulence of the internal potency of Krishna just within the sound vibration. So, like the Hare Krishna mantra, it's not just Krishna Krishna, it's Hare Krishna. So similarly, Srimad Bhagavatam is invested with potency such that even if someone doesn't know what it is, they don't understand the meaning, it's ice cream. It's very tasty. It's very beautiful. So in addition to Shri, very beautiful, Srimad, very beautiful, Bhagavatam, it carries Krishna's Shakti within the sound vibration. So hearing Srimad Bhagavatam is like chanting Hare Krishna, or the two, chanting Hare Krishna and reading Srimad Bhagavatam, they go together. Like two peas in a pod. They go together. We do both together. And just like Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, Hare Nama, Hare Nama, Hare Nama Eva Kevalam, he chanted the holy name, and every day, for hours every day, he would hear Srimad Bhagavatam from Gadadhar Pandit. Every day. Now, main emphasis goes to chanting, because everybody can chant. It's the Yuga Dharma. Everyone can chant. And implicit is the same effect is there from hearing Srimad Bhagavatam. So it's a natural graduation or gradation of chanting the Hare Krishna mantra in kirtan or japa or both, and hearing Srimad Bhagavatam. Bhagavad Gita, the undergraduate, and then the Bhagavatam, or Srimad Bhagavatam, the graduate study, so that we can get an understanding of rasa, implicit, packed in. What to speak of the commentator of Acharyas that explain it. So that's what we're going to be doing for a few days. Hearing Krishna's pastimes in Vrindavan, and becoming enlightened. Who is Krishna? Who is this all-attractive person? I'm pausing because on Saturday I was at 26 Second Avenue in New York. It's a little bit chillier in New York than in Houston. And at 26 Second Avenue, there was a few people who were there for the first time. And one of the persons that was there for the first time was a young lady, an American lady. And she was nodding her head. She seemed somewhat familiar, although this was her first time ever at an ISKCON event. And then it kind of got stuck because it turns out she's been studying Ayurvedic medicine, and it turns out it just, it seems that the person that she's learning Ayurvedic medicine from is an impersonalist, because she was stuck on the impersonal conception. And we went around and around, round and around, that the particle of gold is qualitatively the same as the gold mine, quantitatively different. Like, that's so easy to understand. But she couldn't understand it because she had another conception. And around and around and around. It was a nice experience. But she hasn't ever read Bhagavad Gita. And if she had read Bhagavad Gita, it'd be an impersonal version. So there's a lot of that out there. But, Bhagavatam, Srimad Bhagavatam, dispels it. It's very powerful literature. If someone can get their hands on the Srimad Bhagavatam and Prabhupada's Bhagavad Gita, their life can change. And we're all, all of us, almost all of us probably, were doing something else before. I certainly was doing something else before. And all of us were doing something else before. And now it's focus on Krishna. And how'd that happen? Sound vibration. It has a way of awakening and lifting consciousness. Cleansing and lifting of consciousness. So we'll spend some time together during this visit, just Krishna and Vrindavan. I'll tell some more stories later. Any discussion? Yeah. Hare Krishna.
There is a microphone, please.
But she's
Online.
okay. You're online. Did you know that?
Thank you for the class, Maharaj. So, I'm trying not to say In the beginning, you were talking a little bit about Putana and how
You're trying, I can tell.
she was having like ill intentions, but in the end, she because she did some service.
Go ahead.
Because she did some service to Lord Krishna, she had
She got a special consequence from that
Yes.
little service.
Yes. So I was just wondering, you might have gotten this question before, but
Keep going.
how come we don't have bad intentions, but we're trying?
Yeah.
So how come we're not there yet?
Okay. Let me amplify your question. Maybe a month ago, I was in Alachua. You've heard of that place. And in the audience was a devotee I've known for maybe 35, 40 years. Mother Ragatmika, she was one of the typists for the BBT. And the topic when I was there was just before Nrsimha Chaturdasi. And in the section, what your question is, your question is in relation to Putana, and the verse that was read was the very first words that Krishna spoke to the cowherd friends not Krishna, the coward friends, that Prahlad spoke to his classmates was the importance of devotional service because they wanted to play, and he was saying, no, even a little bit of devotional service can bring perfection. Prahlad was saying to his classmates. And Putana is similar. She came with bad intention, etc. And yet she was given super perfection, assistant of Mother Yashoda in the spiritual world. So why does it take us so long? Ragatmika's question is, why does it take so long for us? I've been chanting for 35 years, and I don't feel I'm very close at all to love of God. So what's the deal? Because Prahlad was saying, even the smallest devotional service can bring perfection. And here's the answer. Within devotional service that you're doing and I'm doing and most of us are doing, there's potency. But we're not experiencing the fullness of that potency because of our covering, our conditioning, our attachments. We're very, very, very attached. Now, are you saying, excuse me, but are you saying that Putana was not attached? She was attached. She was a demon. But the potency was there in the service that she did, and Krishna accepted the service that she did. And in reciprocation with the service that she did, he reciprocated with her. He gave her a very special privilege. So now what about you and me and all the rest of us? We're doing some service. There's potency in that service to deliver us to the stage of perfection, to any platform that Krishna chooses to deliver to us. We're dependent upon his mercy. However, we're pretty attached to misconceptions and, more than just serving Krishna. She was very focused. She wanted to kill Krishna, but she wanted to do that in the role and capacity of mother. So she was very fixed. And Krishna accepted that fixed service. So what about you and me? I'm not experiencing. So that's because that's the question. We need to become immersed. Maya sakta manak partha. Mind attached to Krishna. Our mind is kind of wavering, to put it lightly. We get distracted very easily because there's a lot of things that are going on that are important to us, and our mind goes here and the mind goes there. On the flight, on the way from New York City to here, I spent about an hour going through commentaries to understand the stages of remembrance of Krishna. So, from devotional service, Shravanam, Kirtanam, Vishnu, Smaranam, remembrance. Remembrance of what we've forgotten. That's our relationship with the personality of Godhead. Our acharyas, Rupa Goswami, Jiva Goswami, Bhaktivinoda Thakur, all of our acharyas write the same thing. This smarana has 5 stages, and they give slightly varied descriptions, but the 5 stages are the same. And the smarana is when coverings become slightly removed, then there's remembrance of what we've forgotten. Like coming out of amnesia, and then you start to look around and you start to recognize some things. And then there's stages beyond that and stages beyond that. So the dharana, dhyana, and samadhi. Then there's anusmriti, it's another stage that is found in that list of 5. And it's all about remembrance. But the culmination is samadhi, There's nothing else going on except there's one thing in the mind. So we're not there. Putana was fixed. We're not fixed. And Prahlad was fixed, but Prahlad was saying that even the slightest one can deliver to perfection, because there's potency in the slightest, that the slightest is also pure, or bhakti is pure. It may be mixed, but in its essence is pure. So it's just a way of different ways of saying the same thing. So you and I experience covered consciousness, moving in the direction of Shravanam Kirtanam towards Vishnu Smaranam. And it takes a while because we're attached and very covered. How many lifetimes have we been covered? Who can say? Too many. And so to get all that covering removed, it's not so quick. It can be, but generally because we're attached, it's gradual. But the potency is there. So keep chanting and hearing Srimad Bhagavatam. Anything else?
Hare Krishna Guru Maharaj. So, Putana was fixed even though thinking negatively about killing.
Yeah, her
Krishna.
motivation was bad, but she was fixed.
Yeah, he was fixed. How about Prahlad Maharaj in his previous life? He just fasted on the day of Narsingha Chaturdashi. And he got an opportunity to associate with pure Vaishnava, and thus he got the opportunity to see the Lord face to face. How do we explain that?
3 things. You ready? They're different days of Brahma, and therefore they're different Prahlads in different days of Brahma. What you're referring to is found in Hari Bhakti Vilas, and Hari Bhakti Vilas is making a reference from a certain Purana. And in that certain Purana it says what you said. For those that are not so familiar. Maybe you are all unfamiliar. I'll say it anyways. In one of Sanatana Goswami makes reference to a certain Purana in which Prahlad is asking Lord Nrsingadev, after Hiranyakashipu was killed, how did I become your devotee? And he gives this explanation. He was a Brahmana, first of all, but not a very elevated Brahmana, kind of like a Jamila, born but not practicing. In fact, he didn't read scriptures, because this long description of what his life was like. And he became attached to a prostitute. And he got in an argument with his prostitute on Nrsinga Chaturdasi. Now, the question. Nrsinga Chaturdasi is the appearance day of Lord Nrsingadev. Lord Nrsingadev hadn't appeared yet. So how did he accidentally, unintentionally fast on Nrsinga Chaturdasi when Lord Nrsingadev hadn't even appeared yet? That's a good question, isn't it? And the answer is found in Hari Bhakti Vilas. Nrsinga Chaturdasi is eternal. There's potency in that the appearance day of Lord Nrsingadev that's within the earthly realm or the created realm, he appears, then he disappears. So the fasting was unintentional. That was so, etc., etc. There's potency in that vrata, the Nrsinga Chaturdasi vrata, observing some austerity on the occasion of the appearance of Lord Nrsingadev, or the appearance of any of the forms of the Lord. That's what the whole section of Hari Bhaktivilasa is discussing. The efficacy of observing vratas on appearance days of Vishnu. However, in Canto 7, Chapter 10, Prahlad says that Lord Vishnu sent him from Vishnu Loka, or from Vaikuntha, to this realm. That's a different day of Brahma. And Prabhupada writes elaborately, this is 7:10:4. 7:10:4. Nitya Siddha. Prahlad was a Nitya Siddha. Come to teach how to perform sadhana and become Siddha. Sadhana Siddha. That's a different day of Brahma. So just take that one example. How do we explain it? There's potency. The explanation is there's potency in that the appearance days of Vishnu. Supposing somebody doesn't know about Ekadasi and they just observe Ekadasi, there's benefit, even if they don't know what they're doing. There's potency in these special holidays, just like there's potency in the holy name. There's potency in Shastra, and people may know, they may not know, but there's potency. There's potency in the deity form of the Lord, etc., etc. There's potency in prasadam. People don't know. That's okay. The people that come to Govindas, they don't know. That's okay. There's potency. That's how. Merit came to him because of unintentionally observing a vrata on Nrsimha Chaturdasi. That's what Hari Bhaktivilasa is teaching us, specifically telling that story to teach us that message. Okay? Anything else?
Swamiji,
Yeah.
you spoke about Bhagavad.
Spoke about Bhagavatam. It's a trick microphone. You have to have that magic button on the side.
Yeah, you mentioned about Bhagavatam, that Bhagavatam is transcendental. Transcendental.
Yes, it is.
Yeah. So can you please throw more light on transcendental?
Transcendental, that's a nice English word. Here's a Sanskrit word. Aparusheya Shabda Praman. The aparusheya means beyond the defects of a human being, like you and me, we're defective. But the prefix is not. Aparusheya Shabda. It's sound vibration that's from a source that's not having the four defects of a conditioned soul. So that's transcendental. Aparushe Shabda Praman. Evidence, or the means of knowing transcendence, or that which is beyond, from the source that's beyond. Thus transcendental. God, a room full of very experienced devotees. I'll be disappointed if we have a whole series of home visits and you don't. Discussion is the best part. I'm prodding you a little bit. Yes.
Hare Krishna, Guru Maharaj. I have one confusion regarding the topic of certain acts of devotional service which are done unknowingly.
Yeah.
At the end of chapter 17, divisions of faith and so on, it says that anything, sacrifice, charity and so on, which is done without faith in the Supreme is useless in this life or the next. How do we reconcile that with Ajnata Sukruti, where you're not even thinking of the Supreme and just doing something which happens to be auspicious in some sense?
Well, it's depends on what one understands useless to mean. Useless in the sense that it's not able, doesn't have the capacity to bear the fruit. However, it can prepare for bearing the fruit. It's like, in cultivation of a garden, if you don't put the seed in the soil, you can prepare the soil all you like. You can have some nice weed garden, unless you put the seed or what you want to grow in the soil. So one may not know what this seed is, so it's not going to produce the flower or the fruit or the tree or whatever it is that the seed of. Quickly or in short period of time, but preparing the soil, it's just like Prabhupada makes the distinction between wet wood and dry wood. If you have wet wood and you want to kindle a fire, it's going to take a long time. It's, you can say, useless. However, within even the wet wood, it can become, in course of time, dry wood and then ignite. So it depends on the use of the word, the intention behind the word useless. It can't bear fruit. Now there are things that are more absolutely useless, like this example of the nipples on the neck of a goat. That's not going to produce milk. It may look like, but it's not going to produce milk. But something that's done unknowingly, back to the question, unknowingly, something that carries spiritual potency, unknowingly, it's the wet wood is becoming dry. The people that come to Govinda's restaurant, they're getting spiritual benefit. Know it or not. And yeah, how that can affect the consciousness of people in general, regularly taking prasadam. It's very special. Did I tell the story about Kalachandji's restaurant? No? I can't remember exactly the circumstance, but and on one occasion I flew into the Dallas airport, and there was I was at the baggage claim waiting for the bags to come out, and this well-dressed man came forward and wanted to speak. The driver came and stood next to me, so the man wanted to speak, stepped back and was just being respectful to the person that came. When the bag came and I started to head for the car, he stepped forward again and said, "So are you going to Kalachandji's?" And I said, "He's taking me there." And from that I understood this well-dressed gentleman wouldn't know anything about Krishna. I was dressed as in a dhoti, so he recognized, and tilak and everything, so he recognized a Hare Krishna guy, but he didn't necessarily have a good feeling except for the prasadam, but he had a good feeling just seeing me. And some people don't have a good feeling seeing a monk. They don't have necessarily a bad feeling, but they don't have want to engage with you. But so the man was benefited. I mean, I didn't have a conversation because the driver was standing next to me and he was being respectful to the driver. In some conversation with the driver, so he didn't interrupt. But good feeling, and that's spiritually beneficial. From taking prasadam at Kalachanji's, and it's similar here, Govinda's. People may come and eventually come see the deity or whatever, take a Bhagavad Gita home or something. But even they just take prasadam unknowingly. It's not going to quickly bear fruit, but in course of time. Okay.
Yes, talking about Govindas, we also have several customers that actually are in the process of becoming devotees and even going for initiation also, actually. So we actually know John Henderson, Prabhu. I mean, he regularly does Tulsi service. That's how he came through Govindas. He was a regular customer at Govindas, and then he kind of wandered into. Now he's doing a Tulsi service, and he's aspiring. So wonderful.
We came actually. We came to Govindas and then.
See, there you go. Here is the proof. And Guru Maharaj, I guess one question I had, or clarification, or maybe you mentioned in one of your slides that Bakasura represents cunning, duplicity, deceptive behaviors, and hypocrisy, an outward manifestation of virtuous lifestyle, while inwardly infested with deception, falsity, and cheating activities.
You wrote it all down. Pretty good.
So, I mean, we are living in a world...
It's like that.
Just like that. So, I guess as practicing devotees, how we should be careful, I guess, not to fall into these traps.
Well, a short answer is bhakti. Prabhupada sometimes uses this word prophylactic, but bhakti is purifying. We're protected even in an atmosphere that's surcharged with opposition. We're protected by bhakti. So the protector in bhakti, of course, one can say it's Bhakti Devi, but behind Bhakti Devi is Krishna. So we're being protected by Krishna's spiritual potency and by Krishna himself by engaging in bhakti. Then it takes the important adjective sincere, or other adjectives that Prabhupada would use to describe how bhakti must be performed, with a sincere desire to understand, or ardent hearing, or the other kinds of language. So it's bhakti that's done with intent, then one is protected. The material, there's a whole, the beginning chapter of Canto 6, Bhagavatam, is asking the question, Shmaraj Prikshit is asking the question of Shukadeva Goswami, what can be done to protect people from their tendencies for sinful activity? And he goes through this whole thing about atonement, prayaschitta, is ineffective. Because as a king, I've seen people get punishment for wrongdoings, and they get some fine or some imprisonment, and they go back out and do it again. Kunjara Sochara, just like the elephant bathing. So, what can be done? And the what can be done that's beyond the atonement is the removal of the tendency itself. So that's your question. the tendency in an atmosphere that's charged with such tendencies in the world in which we move around. What's the protection? The protection is bhakti. Because bhakti has the power to dismiss it. Now, there's not guaranteed, simply become, I got a bead bag and start chanting Hare Krishna mantra and take Krishna prasadam at the Govinda's restaurant or something. And, all my troubles go away. My bad tendencies go away. There's potency, same topic as before. The potency is there. This is her question. The potency is there in those activities. But I may not be experiencing the fullness of those potencies in those activities. So then comes the qualifiers, the sincerity or ardent hearing or attentive hearing, trying to understand, etc., etc. And that's a little bit where this question of faith comes in also. So to get the full effect, that has to be done with faith. But it can begin unknowingly, without much faith, and one can move closer to the position of faith. So it's a qualitative, in short, a qualitative way is necessary for getting the full effect of what bhakti has, and then we can be protected from duplicity and cunning behavior and all these other things. Okay, I'm going to end. Srila Prabhupada ki jai.
His Holiness Prabhupada Swami